Hi, cities. How are you doing? Welcome to Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. A very big shout out to Moses Ken. You are awesome. So he was saying that white supremacy failed white privilege, and he is proud of black people. And he was talking about how white people had about how many years? 400 years ahead. And still, they are looking for a way to get into black people's skin and all that. Like, how did you have 400 years start, right? 400 start ahead of every other person, right? And still, they do not let black people do their thing. Black people couldn't read during slavery. Like they couldn't do a lot, right? But still, their story is still very unique. With everything that had happened, they couldn't read, they couldn't this, they couldn't do that, but they still thrive, right? Ended up with their best communities and all that, that the system said that I will never let them stand, right? They actually held black people because they do not want black people to move ahead of them. That is one of the reasons why each time I talk about systemic racism and how the system has been mounted to oppress people that look like me. And thank goodness today, black people are not fighting for anything. They are only fighting for the system to be dismantled. Let's get into this video.
How did white people mess up a 400-year head start? How did this happen? How is it that a nation of people, a race of people, held people of color by the collar while they allowed their people to get a 400-year head start? You sabotaged anything we could have done. We couldn't read, we couldn't write, we couldn't unify in any way, we couldn't congregate in any way. We weren't even considered human. See, this is why I am so proud to be black. I'm so proud to be a person of color because we have the best story ever told. Regardless of what criticisms I've given my people, regardless of what critiques, regardless of what I've said about my people, I still view us as the greatest. And by us, I mean people of color. Don't you know who you are? These people held you by the collar, held you in place so you couldn't move, learn, do nothing by yourself. Also, they can stay ahead of you. Do you understand what that means? That means that they know how powerful you all are. They know how powerful a black woman is. They know how powerful a black man is. Because if they didn't, guess what? They would have pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps and built America on their own instead of going and kidnapping slaves. Oh, wait, white man, I know what you about to say. Oh, but black people weren't the only slaves. No, we weren't. But we were the only ones who've had our identity completely stripped from us. We are the only ones who have been completely separated and don't even know the origins of African Americans. Oh, but Africa sold you guys into slave. No. The very few chiefs, kings that did that, that cooperated, were considered outcasts, alienated, were considered traitors well before that transaction even happened. And plus, it's kind of hard to deny a transaction when we ain't got nothing but bows and arrows and y'all showing up on ships with rifles, making offers that we literally cannot refuse. Let's not forget how America plays. Let's not forget how America presents you with an offer, but the offer is really rhetorical. It's really a trick question. Throughout all the trial and tribulation, throughout all the horrific acts done by you, we are still here. So I ask again, how did you fumble a 400-year head start? How did you fumble a point in time where you were trying to completely eradicate people of color and you couldn't do it? That's why I be so mad at my people. That's why I be so disappointed in my people. That's why I be on y'all the way I be on y'all. Because these motherfuckers know who you are. These motherfuckers know how powerful you are. These motherfuckers know your potential. They just convinced you that your potential is low. They convinced you that you're a nobody. They convinced you that you are nothing and you are lesser than them. When if that was true, they would have built America on their own. They wouldn't have had to go and get them slaves. They wouldn't have had to deal with Africa at all. They wouldn't have had to take out loans from that same tyrannical place that they say they fled from. They wouldn't have had to create alliances with France. They wouldn't have had to use Christianity to start the slave trade if they were so great. How did y'all white folks mess up a 400-year head start? It's the same thing. Every 4 years, they blaming every issue in America on people of color, on immigrants, when you're an immigrant, on Joe Biden, on Kamala Harris, on Barack Obama. They blame it on everybody except the motherfucker that created the system that we in. White people now are like, oh, woe is me, the country's going to shit. Oh my God, the immigrants. Oh my God, we're gonna lose this. Oh my God, the tyrannical government. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? The America's going to shit. No, America's been shit. You just now finding out. You late to the party. Why did you not listen to people of color when we told you all of this back then? See, when it was beneficial to be white, you ignored all of us. But now that your privilege is virtually gone, dead, because the same system, the same government, the same media that you put in place has gotten greedy and now sees you, white man, as a target too. Yes, you have privilege, or at least you had it. And this is usually where they start whining, oh, what privilege do I have today? The 400-year head start that your ancestors gave you, that's a privilege. The fact that y'all were allowed to run full sprint as far as you can run while everybody else was held in place trying to run, can't get nowhere because they are held by their collar, by your ancestors. How did y'all fumble a 400-year head start? God, I love being black. I love being a person of color, because do you understand the level of failure that is? Every 4 years, this damn country's on the verge of collapse. Every 4 years, it's the same policies being presented. Every 4 years, it's the same promises broken. And guess what you all do? Still participate in this system. But when shit go bad, hey, we need to change this. They're not going to change nothing. You know why? Because your vote is free. You don't demand nothing for your vote. You don't demand nothing for the dollar. You don't demand nothing for nothing. So why would they respect you? Why would they help you? Why would they rebuild America in the image it's supposed to be in when you're paying for corruption? Why would the devil change the devil's ways if you keep playing the same game that the devil likes to play? Here go the whites. It's Kamala Harris, it's Joe Biden, it's Barack Obama. No. It's America. If all whites aren't racist, then you shouldn't have an issue with what's about to be said. My goal is to take 10,000 brothers and destroy every sundown town in America. My goal is every time on the news, a little black girl gets slammed on her head by a racist, corrupt cop, we go find that cop and do the same thing to his little girls. My goal is whenever a brother gets downed, unalived by an officer, every time a sister gets downed, unalived by a racist cop, we go and down him and one of his family members. See how he like it. That's my goal. When I could put together a group of brothers, a very large group of brothers with that purpose. I don't care about what the consequence is for it. I don't care about the repercussions for it. I don't care about the challenges that we would face trying to do it. You know, and I know it needs to be done. So when I can grow large enough to where I can organize brothers to wherever something pops up on the news, such and such unalived by law enforcement, Video pops up on a screen. A young brother, young sister gets shot in the back 20 damn times for holding up a dang wallet or a cell phone, gets tased for nothing, gets punched in the face in the middle of a traffic stop. When these things happen, I want to be able to show up with brothers and punch you in your face and see how you like it. I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care about the fear attached to it. I don't care about the hesitation or the caution. The fact is, it's only one way to deal with a bully.
I'm gonna whoop your ass.
We've all been taught to walk away, turn the other cheek. Success is your best revenge. If that's the case, why the hell they don't take that route? We know the Klan operates in every branch of government. The Klan operates in every branch of power in this country, in corporations, in judicial branches, in law enforcement, everywhere. So why can't we operate at the same capacity? You might say, they not gonna let us do that. They not gonna.
If I had a rock, I'll bust your head, bitch.
I don't care what they not gonna let us do. Just do. We have to, at some point, we have to stop with this whole what they gonna let us do crap. Just do. If we can't have our own systems, then we start robbing theirs blind. If we can't have our own corporations, we can't have our own political figures, we can't have our own America, our own version of America, then destroy theirs. Stop peacefully coexisting with what you know is not beneficial towards you. You already know, we already know, they do everything in their power to make the poor whites feel like we just lying. We out here fabricating stuff.
Filthy motherfucker.
They've been doing it since slavery, ain't nothing new. But they do that to keep the poor whites focused on attacking us, and they keep us attacking each other. We really don't care nothing about the poor whites, but they keep throwing rocks over a dang hill and hiding their hand. So then eventually we got to turn around and look at them and deal with them. But the more important issue is, why do we keep living in fear of someone, of something that has always had to cheat in order to stay in front of us?
When black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
Yeah, but the question is more, how do you get there? Do you get there by confrontation, violence?
Oh, is that the question you were asking?
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. When you talk about a revolution, most people think violence, without realizing that the real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for, not in the way you reach them. On the other hand, because of the way this society is organized, because of the violence that exists on the surface everywhere, you have to expect that there are going to be such explosions. You have to expect things like that as reactions. If you are a black person and live in the black community all your life and walk out on the street every day seeing white policemen surrounding you, when I was living in Los Angeles, for instance, long before the situation in LA ever occurred, I was constantly stopped. No, the police didn't know who I was, but I was a black woman. And I had a natural, and they, I suppose, thought that I might be a, quote, militant. And when you live under a situation like that constantly, and then you ask me, you know, whether I approve of violence. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all. whether I approve of guns. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Some very, very good friends of mine were killed by bombs that were planted by racists. I remember from the time I was very small, I remember the sounds of bombs exploding across the street, our house shaking. I remember my father having to have guns at his disposal at all times because of the fact that at any moment we might expect to be attacked. The man who was at that time in complete control of the city government, his name was Bull Connor, would often get on the radio and make statements like, niggers have moved into a white neighborhood, we better expect some bloodshed tonight. And sure enough, there would be bloodshed. In my neighborhood, all of the men organized themselves into an armed patrol. They had to take their guns and patrol our community every night because they did not want that to happen again. I mean, that's why when someone asks me about violence, I just find it incredible. Because what it means is that the person who's asking that question has absolutely no idea what black people have gone through, what black people have experienced in this country since the time the first black person was kidnapped from the shores of Africa.
Our problem has been, as black people, we've always been concerned about white America, never about us. And what we've always thought is that white America equal the same interest as us. That is not true. We must now be concerned with us. Let me give you some examples. We always want to prove what good Americans we are. The very first man to die for the War of Independence in this country was a black man named Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks. He was a fool. Because here he was dying for white folk freedom, and millions of his brothers were enslaved in the very country.
Let us move on to our next questioner at the microphone over there. Mr.
Welcome to America, Mr. Mandela. I'm Ken Edelman. Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat, who you have praised. You have told Gaddafi that you share the view on, and applaud him on his record of human rights and his drive for freedom and peace around the world. And you have praised Fidel Castro as a leader of human rights and said that Cuba was one of the countries that's head and shoulders above all other countries in human rights, despite the fact that documents at the United Nations and elsewhere show that Cuba is one of the worst. I was just wondering, are these your models of leaders of human rights? And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
So a basic but often overlooked truth in social justice spaces is harm is real, and it's not always aligned neatly with systems of power. People from marginalized communities can and do hurt others intentionally or not. Recognizing that doesn't contradict our commitment to anti-oppressive work. In fact, it's essential to it. But here's where we need to be careful, especially those of us who are white, especially white women. When we are harmed by someone who is more marginalized than us, someone who faces systemic risk, invisibility, or criminalization, the way we talk about that harm matters just as much as the harm itself. Because storytelling isn't neutral, it is shaped by power. And when we tell our stories without naming that power, we risk reinforcing the very systems we say we oppress. It's entirely possible to talk about your experience of that harm without exposing someone who exists in a body or identity that's already under constant scrutiny or threat. It's possible to name a rupture without putting someone else's safety, livelihood, or reputation on the line, especially when the harm was interpersonal or not institutional. We can name our pain without needing to frame the other person as a villain, especially when the framing plays right into existing patterns of marginalization, where people are always seen as suspicious, unstable, manipulative, or dangerous just for existing. This is what it means to do anti-oppression work in the messiness of real life. Know that harm doesn't exempt you from accountability for how you respond to it. That your story matters, but so does how, where, and why you tell it. You can speak your truth. You can name the impact, but you don't have to reproduce the systems that created the conditions for harm in the first place.
This is really very beautiful video. A very big shout out to Moses Ken. You know, sometimes when we look at the things going on, you definitely will see how all blame has always been on Black people and other people of color. But that are not my problem. I am focusing mostly on Black people. Like he said, you know, it has always been, they had how many years of start? 400 years. But still, Black people had continued to be their problem from since whenever till this very moment, and then end up blaming, I mean, the system that has been set up that is oppressing people should be dismantled. I don't know if you understand this. There is a system that has been set up. That system is a problem. So all the white supremacies of all of them should all come down, right? Because that is the major problem that the world and my people are facing. When you look left racism, when you look right racism, when you look racism all over. Racism all over. Right? So what am I saying? I am saying that if I don't care whatever Black people have to do to protect themselves, because this attack and all that did not start today. It has always been there, you know. They've been attacking Black people left, right, center, and all that. So it's not a thing of today. And I don't even know when it is going to stop. I don't even know when it is going to finish, if it is ever going to stop, or it is never ever going to stop. But one thing I know for sure is that they have always been in Black business, and they will never stop, because all they want is to look for a way to set that community apart. Black people are going to build, and then before you look back, it is all gone. Who is doing it? You think they don't know what they are doing, or they are not sure of what they are doing, or all the things they did were by mistake? Of course, it has never been by mistake. They know what they've been doing all this while. You heard me right. So anything Black people have to do to protect themselves from the P0ple and all that, please let it be done, so that every one of us have to be safe, because you are all you've got. Because if you are waiting for other people to ever come and protect you or shelter you and all that, it is never going to happen. Rather, they would love to take away that shelter from you, which is also happening till this very moment. Look at what has been going on in DC and all that. You cannot be broke. It is a sin to be broke. It is a sin to have problem. It is a sin to have shaky background and all that. That system has to be dismantled, whether you like it or not. Bye for now.